Hello and welcome to Xfer. Today we'll be looking at Xfer OTT in our first ever video. Firstly, let's take a look at the functions of OTT. Depth that determines the dry and wet of the affected signal, time that affects attack and release, input gain, gain compensation, pre-gain per band, upwards compression depth, and downwards compression depth. Next, let's look at the crossover filters. The crossovers are fixed at 88.3 Hz and 2.5 kHz, mimicking the Ableton preset OTT. Let's see what OTT actually does. Here we have a waveform of a kick. The dotted line represents downwards and upwards compression accordingly. I'll give these zones their respective colors. What OTT does to the waveform is to basically avoid being in the two different color zones. Louder and softer parts of the signal in these zones will try to get into the empty spaces, resulting in a very compressed signal. Let's mess around with threshold and time in the second part. In this example, we are focusing on the piano and the drop. There is a piano hiding in the track, but it's a little hard to discern. So let's take a look at it and see how it sounds by itself. Alone, we can see that the piano sounds tubby and a bit mid-rangey. So let's see what we can do to fix that and give it a bit of an OTT shine. At 100% depth, we can hear a lot of high-frequency noise crawling in the quieter parts. So let's deactivate the upwards compression on the high band. The low and mid-range downwards compression is doing a lot, so let's make it do a little less to prevent that overly poppy transient. Lastly, as we can hear, OTT is making the transient a little too harsh, so let's give it a bit of breathing room by increasing the attack time, using the time knob to around 500%. Let's put everything back in. As we can see, the piano is a bit more upfront with a sharper attack from the downwards compression, and there's more of a swell from the upwards compression. Let's get on to a more unconventional use of OTT. Here is a Vox track with an arpeggiating guitar. As we can see, the guitar shares similar frequency ranges as the voice. The rhythmic information is also interrupting the space of the vocals. Let's use OTT to give space to the vocals and at the same time get an OTT crunch. Messing around with the depth knob, we can see that everything starts to get a little squashed. You could use this OTT basic setting for something more like a lead. However, for a rhythmic guitar, I would personally want to use something a bit more delicate. What you're seeing me do now is to match the levels of the original signal and the affected signal. Holding Command and clicking on the bands will deactivate the brown or green bars representing upwards and downwards compression respectively. In this case, we'll be deactivating the high and the low band just to compress the mid. And lastly, adjust the depth to taste. Let's hear the difference. What is happening is the transient information in the mids are compressed, giving way to the voice being the main instrument.
The sun is dark.
Here's a little bonus tip for Logic and Ableton users. If you go to the editor on the OTT plugin, there's a function called Clean Crossover. This will clean up the sound a little more with a colorless crossover filter. You can actually do the same in Ableton by exposing all automation parameters as shown. The effect is really subtle, but will stack if you use OTT on a lot of tracks. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section and I'll get to it when I can. I'm new here in the space and hitting the subscribe button would really help. Thank you for watching.